Iran, a country in the Middle East, is home to one of the richest cultures and histories in the world. It has gone through various types of governments and cultures. But in this video, we're not going to talk about Iran's culture and history. Instead, we're going to talk about a book that isn't just any book, it's a work of art, and every page of it is worth millions of dollars. You could say it's the most expensive book in the world, the Shahnameh of Tahmasp. Iran, or Persia, is one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Great empires ruled and fell in this land: the Achaemenids, Parthians, Sassanids, and many more. It's good to know that the Achaemenid Empire, founded by Cyrus the Great around 500 BC, was so vast that it ruled almost half of the world's population, 44% to be exact, which is the largest percentage ever recorded in history. These empires came and went, and we arrive at the 7th century. In the 7th century, Muslim Arabs invaded Iran, bringing big changes. Islam became the main religion, Arabic gained a lot of influence, and the Arabs wanted to replace Persian with Arabic. But Iranians didn't want to forget their culture and identity, and something helped preserve it during this time: the Shahnameh, or in English, the Book of Kings. The Shahnameh is a massive epic written by the Persian poet Ferdowsi in the late 10th and early 11th centuries. Ferdowsi spent about 30 years of his life creating this masterpiece, with around 50,000 verses. This book is like a treasure trove of Iran's mythological and historical stories, starting from ancient times, almost prehistory, and going all the way to the Arab invasion in the 7th century. As we said, at that time, the Persian language was under pressure from Arabic, and many Arabic words had entered Persian. But Ferdowsi wrote the Shahnameh entirely in pure Persian, keeping the language alive. You might think, what's so special about it? I can just order a Shahnameh from Amazon right now. Well, not all Shahnameh books are expensive. It's just one particular version that is. About 500 years later, in 1501, a man named Shah Ismail, the founder of the Safavid dynasty, came to power. He reunited Iran, which had been split into different parts, each ruled by someone different. Before Shah Ismail, most Iranians didn't know about the Shahnameh, except for a few literate people, and they were few and far between. Shah Ismail decided to introduce this book, which he was deeply fond of, to all Iranians, so that they could learn about their rich history and to show that the Shah of Iran was powerful. You should know that Shah Ismail didn't live long. He only lived to be 36 years old, but 2 years before his death, he ordered the creation of this book, and work began. However, after his death, his son, Shah Tahmasp, ascended the throne. Interesting fact, Tahmasp is one of the legendary figures in the Shahnameh, which shows how much Shah Ismail loved this book, as he even named his son after a character from it. Why? Because Shah Tahmasp was the first Iranian king in hundreds of years to have a Persian name, not an Arabic or Turkish one. Anyway, 2 years before his death, Shah Ismail ordered the best painters and writers in Iran to come together and create a masterpiece out of this book. After his death, his son continued the project. They made the paper for this Shahnameh thin, similar to today's handmade paper, and of very high quality, called Bible paper. This paper also included cotton fibers, making it both thin and durable. They decided that for each famous story from the Shahnameh, the corresponding page would not only feature the poem, but also a painting of the story. Painted not with watercolor or oil paint, but with natural colors. For example, the blue color was made from lapis lazuli from Badakhshan, which is in modern-day Afghanistan, and the yellow was a mix of sulfur and gold. So, whenever you see yellow in this book, you're actually looking at gold. You should know that not the entire page has writing or drawings. Instead, the writing and illustrations are in the middle of the page, and the borders are left empty. So, how are those empty spaces decorated? All the spots you see in the empty parts are gold, used to embellish the page. For example, look at this page. There's a beautiful, intricate painting in the center, surrounded by gold decorations, with the best calligraphers writing the poems. The paintings on these pages are so detailed that you can zoom in with a magnifying glass and inspect every millimeter. The poem you see there is basically drawn like a movie. You can see the story in the painting as well. For example, The person you see in the center is Kayumars, the first human and founder of the line of kings in the Shahnameh. All kinds of people from that time in Iran, and even animals, are gathered around him. If you pay attention to the faces of the people, you can see all different races and colors. Each page was worked on by dozens of people, and it wasn't like one person would finish an entire page by themselves. Different artists from various parts of Iran contributed, like Sultan Muhammad from Tabriz, who was a master in designing battle and hunting scenes, or Mir Musawir from Badakhshan, who was skilled at drawing delicate faces and facial expressions. If we were to name all the artists, it would take hours, because this project took more than 20 years to complete. That's why they say 2 generations of artists worked on this masterpiece. This variety of artists is what makes flipping through the pages of this book so diverse, and you never feel like it's repetitive. It's not exactly clear what year the book was finished, but historians say it was around 1540 when the Shahnameh of Tahmasp was completed and presented to Shah Tahmasp. That's why the book is named after him. Some people say it was Shah Ismail's dream, which Shah Tahmasp made a reality. The book stayed with the Safavid court for about 35 years. When Sultan Suleiman ascended the throne in the Ottoman Empire, he had a very good relationship with Iran, and they would often send gifts to each other. One of the biggest gifts was given when Bayezid, Suleiman's rebellious brother, sought refuge in Iran, and Shah Tahmasp refused to shelter him and sent him back. To thank Shah Tahmasp, Sultan Suleiman gifted him 400,000 gold coins. In return, Shah Tahmasp, knowing that Sultan Suleiman, like the other Ottoman sultans, loved the Shahnameh, gifted him the Shahnameh of Tahmasp. This gift shocked the entire Ottoman court, and they kept it safely in Topkapi Palace in Istanbul. The complete book stayed in the Ottoman court until the early 20th century. But when World War I broke out and the Ottoman Empire fell into chaos, the book somehow ended up in Paris. Guess who owned it? Edmund James de Rothschild, a member of the Rothschild family. It's unclear how Rothschild got his hands on the book or who he bought it from in the Ottoman Empire, since the government didn't sell it. In 1959, the Rothschild family sold the book to a man named Arthur Houghton II. Houghton realized what a priceless piece he had acquired. Each page was a work of art. To avoid paying hefty taxes if he sold it as a whole, he decided to separate the pages and sell them individually to avoid taxes. He also donated 78 pages to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, where you can still see them today. He sold the remaining pages to various people. In 1994, Houghton's son contacted Iran and traded 118 of the pages with the Tehran Museum of Contemporary Art. The museum exchanged some of its modern Western artworks for these historical pages. Some pages of this Shahnameh are scattered around the world and occasionally come up for auction. For example, in 2022, one of the pages was sold at a Sotheby's auction. Guess how much it went for? £8.1 million, which is equivalent to $9.4 million. This sale made that page the most expensive artwork on paper. That's why we can say the Shahnameh of Tahmasp is the most expensive book in the world, if you could gather all the pages together. The Shahnameh originally had 258 artistic pages. Of those, 119 are now in Iran, 78 are at the Metropolitan Museum in New York, 10 are in the Aga Khan Museum in Canada, and 3 are at the Museum of Islamic Art in Qatar. The rest are in the hands of various collectors around the world, and every now and then, one of them pops up in an auction. What do you think?